Man, 2010 was such a great year for video games. You got Red Dead Redemption, Limbo, Kirby's Epic Yarn, Skate 3, Dante's Inferno. Okay, maybe not that. However, there is one game that I think is not only the best from 2010, but of all time. And that game is Kick-Ass the Game. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a fantastic game. Like, it just is. While trying to write this script, I found it really difficult putting into words just how much I love this game. But I'll try my best though. But before that, we need to go back in time to the year 2007. Wait, hold it. I feel like I'm suffering from deja vu. Why is that? Oh, I get it now. Because those two games are pretty much the same. God, it makes perfect sense now. So can we all agree that Super Mario Galaxy is the best game ever made? No? Then I'm afraid to say that you indeed do not have a soul. After the success of the first game, Nintendo decided to get to work on continuing this sub-series. The only question is this: how do we outdo the first game? You see, back then, and even now to an extent, Nintendo don't really do true sequels for 3D Mario games. They usually reserved that for 2D Mario, Mario Party, Mario Kart, or Mario sports games. During the Nintendo 64 days, they actually considered making a direct sequel to Super Mario 64, and one of the main selling points was that you can play as Luigi. However, those plans were scrapped once the GameCube rolled around, and they decided to make Super Mario Sunshine instead. Now I like Super Mario Sunshine. I also like the smell of petrol. I mean, I told it to a friend of mine, and he was like, "What the hell, man, you're sick. You enjoy Super Mario Sunshine?" Despite my love for this game, I can't deny just how divisive it actually is. Yes, the controls can be a bit funky and it is very glitchy at points, but I can overlook all that stuff because of how fun everything else is. Super Mario Galaxy came out 5 years after Sunshine, and it has been one of the best gaming experiences of my entire life, if not the best. Nintendo knew just how difficult it was going to be to improve on a game that is already pretty much perfect. They originally planned on releasing an update for the first game, which would have been called Super Mario Galaxy More. During development, staff felt they had enough ideas to warrant making a straight up sequel, rather than an expansion to the first game, so they decided to go ahead with a sequel instead. After the game came out on June 11, 2010 in Europe, there has been a narrative that despite Super Mario Galaxy being loads of fun, it still ended up being disappointing. Is that the case? Let's have a closer look. I love the cover for Super Mario Galaxy 2, but I still prefer the first one. It has a similar template to the first. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, sure, but still, I would have liked more variety here. You have Mario flying through space again, but this time he's riding his beloved green dinosaur. God, I can't remember his name. I think it's Michael. There are also multiple planets and a floating Mario head that you will be able to run around and jump on. It's even more colourful than the first game's cover, and it gives you the impression that you are about to embark on a journey to the corner shop on a cloudy day. This isn't space. This is outdoors. The back of the box reads, Mario and Yoshi blast off into a new galactic adventure. On the NTSC version. Again, why do they keep changing it? The PAL version I have reads, blast back into space with Mario and Yoshi. Each one looks similar to each other, so I don't get the point in changing it. The cover also shows off screenshots from the game, as well as the power-ups you and Michael can use. Wait, who's Yoshi? I'm just gonna say it right now in case any of you watching get confused. This game's story is pretty much a retelling of the first game, but it won't hurt repeating. Every 100 years, comets appear in the skies of the Mushroom Kingdom. Princess Peach invites Mario to her castle to watch said comets for the Star Festival. Mario makes his way to the castle, meets Peach, they look at the stars, the end.
I'm just goofing. New boot goofing.
What really happens is Mario finds a lost baby Luma, who then appears to help him get around space and in battle. Then suddenly, Bowser appears, and he's bigger than he was in the first game and wreaks havoc.
This is big! This is huge! This is massive!
He kidnaps Peach. Honestly, I would have been shocked if he didn't. He escapes with her after exclaiming to Mario that he will build a new empire at the center of the universe.
Being a part of the Empire will make
the Mushroom Kingdom
better than it ever was.
After getting the first Power Star, Mario finds himself on a small planet that was formerly a spaceship and meets a big purple Luma named Lubba. Or is it Lubba? Lubba? More like, what a Lubba shit. When I was a kid, this creature always reminded me of Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, I don't know why, I can't really explain it. Anyway, Lubba explains to Mario that their ship was destroyed by Bowser and stole the Power Stars, the source of the ship's power. Mario agrees to help Lubba, and the Lumas on board with getting the stars back and rescue Peach. After the Lumas rebuild the ship in the shape of Mario's head, he begins his journey. Just like the last game, every galaxy has power stars to collect. The more stars you get, the more power you give the ship. Once you have enough power stars, you get to face Bowser as the final boss and take him down for good.
Psych!
Do you really think it would be that simple?
Of course not!
After you take him down for a second time and turn him into Tiny Bowser, Mario rescues Peach. They return to the ship and Rosalina, along with the Comet Observatory from the first game, appear in front of them. She thanks Mario for looking after the baby Luma, and it returns to the observatory. It takes Mario's hat, much to his annoyance. Man, what a dick. Everyone returns to the Mushroom Kingdom to not only celebrate their victory, but also the Star Festival. The end. For real this time. And that's the story of Super Mario Galaxy 2. Like I said earlier, the story here is essentially a retelling of the first game, but in the style of a storybook. I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's exactly the same, but I do think there's a lot of similarities here. Bowser being the villain again is a bit uninspiring. Peach getting kidnapped again, like, come on now. Come on.
He's done it again! That is a foul! Fucking little bastard!
I mean, if you've never played this game before and I told you that she gets saved in the end, I don't think many of you would be mad, because it's not a spoiler, it's just an inevitability. It would have been so cool to have a completely original character be the villain, or even have Wario, Waluigi, or Donkey Kong, but instead Bowser has to show up again, and it's kind of annoying. The different variations to the story are interesting to say the least. While I don't dislike these changes, I also think they aren't as good as the previous game. Lubba is nowhere near as engaging or as fascinating of a character as Rosalina. One of the reasons why I claim that is because Lubba is not exactly an intriguing character like Rosalina. We don't know much about him other than he's fat and that he's a bit of a smartass. I don't mind having characters that lack any depth, especially in a Mario game. In fact, in isolation, I actually kinda like Lubba. But when the game goes out of its way to show you an insightful and emotional backstory for Rosalina, one that has me on the verge of tears every time I see it, then it would have been nice to see something similar here. It doesn't have to be a tearjerker. In fact, I would have liked it a lot more if it was comedic to match the game's goofier tone. It's also worth mentioning that Shigeru Miyamoto was actually against the idea of Rosalina having a backstory at all. Imagine if he had his way. If that was so, then I don't think people would have liked her as much as we do now. After seeing the part where the baby Luma returned to the observatory at the end, I thought that was satisfying enough. However, it wasn't the gut-wrenching ending that had me curled up in the fetal position from the first game. Like I said earlier, the tone here is a lot goofier than the first game. It's more comparable to Super Mario Sunshine. Actually no, this game is more comparable to Mario Teaches Typing.
I hit my nose.
Okay, maybe not. Text bubbles were used here again to convey dialogue, which is a lot more tongue-in-cheek. Of course, I don't mind the new approach this game decided to go towards. However, I still prefer the originals. The controls in this game are really good. Again, in fact they feel exactly the same, which I think is fine because they're already perfect. You can jump, double jump, triple jump, long jump, backflip, side flip, wall jump and crouch, but you can't lunge forward, punch or kick, and is instead replaced with a spin attack. It can be used to attack enemies, help Mario jump higher, or save you from dying. One new thing that was added is that after you die a certain amount of times, a cosmic guide in the shape of Rosalina will appear at the last checkpoint you were at. It basically gives you the option to let the CPU take control and beat the level for you, which is a decent feature added for those who find beating a certain level difficult. The only downside for doing this is that the player will be given a brown star, and it wouldn't add to the overall power star level. All of the power-ups from the first game return, except for Ice Mario and Flying Mario. However, 3 new power-ups were brought in to replace them. I'm not going to mention any of the returning power-ups because they function the same as before. The new power-ups include the spin drill. You drill through patches of dirt and end up on the opposite side of a planet. It's handy when you're trying to take down enemies with weak points inaccessible from most angles. Rock Mario. You curl up like an armadillo covered in rocks and roll around. Perfect as well for knocking over large objects or killing larger enemies. And last but not least, Clown Mario. You are given 3 clouds which can be used to reach far away and higher places. You can now control as Michael. Sorry, I just remembered his name now. It's Yoshi. In his base form, he can jump and flutter, use his tongue to swing off or pull levers, as well as swallow enemies and power-ups. Yoshi could also transform, and each power-up can only be used for a brief period of time. There's the Dash Pepper, where Yoshi runs faster, fast enough to run up vertical and really steep areas. There's the Blimp Fruit, where Yoshi turns into a balloon and flies high. And then there's the Bulberry, which allows Yoshi to glow up paths that can't be used normally. What about the hub area? Lubba's ship, or Starship Mario as it's formerly known as, is by far the smallest when you compare it to Rosalina's observatory. Every time you want to go to a level, you step on a wheel platform. I like how, depending on what world you were in last, the sky changes, which I find cool enough. Throughout your adventure, you come across some interesting looking individuals. They come onto Lubba's ship after you meet them throughout various galaxies, where you could talk to them whenever you want. There are so many of them that I'll just display them here, but here are the most useful ones. There is a Toad Banker. With it you could deposit or withdraw star bits, which is handy enough to have. Male Toad gives you letters from Peach that also contains 1-ups, just like the first game. There is a room you can enter which would allow you to change into Luigi once you meet him and unlock him as a playable character. I like how you don't even need to 100% complete the game as Mario this time around to unlock Luigi like the last game. There's the engine room where all of the power-ups are displayed inside glass containers, but they can't be used. Starship Mario also appears in the background of the Mario Galaxy stage in both Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Ultimate, so that's when you know you made it in life. The multiplayer is the same as the last game, but instead of an orange cursor, the second player can control an orange Luma. It still has the same abilities, except now it could also physically attack enemies and collect items. It still would have been nice to have the second player control Luigi, but I guess we're not allowed to live in such a timeline. The music is probably the best aspect of the entire game. Just like the last one, it pretty much elevates the quality of the game from great to brilliant. It blows the previous and future 3D Mario games' soundtracks out of the water. Except for the first game. The original Mario Galaxy soundtrack will always be the best in my eyes. The game continues to use an orchestra soundtrack, which was once again composed by Mahito Yokota and Koji Kondo, with Ryo Nagamatsu joining the team. I do think Super Mario Galaxy 2's soundtrack is a bit samey, and as a result, it doesn't have as much of its own identity. It's still fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's worth pointing that out. Either way, the soundtrack is perfectly implemented here. Just listen to some of the tracks. It really does make you feel like you are going on a magical space adventure. Or average day trip, but more epic, with Mario. What more can I say? I love Super Mario Galaxy 2, but I don't like it as much as the first. Gameplay wise, it's only slightly better, but everything else like the graphics, soundtrack, visual style, they all feel the same as before. The story is fine, but while there are some minor tweaks in that department, it's still the same. I remembered it was the last game I played on my first Wii before it couldn't read the discs anymore, and I was forced to buy a new one. That was one of the darkest days of my life, but at least I got Wii Sports Resort with my new Wii for free. Just like the first game, this was also a part of my childhood. I've played so many games in my 25 years of existence. Unlike the first game, I've never 100% completed it. I remember getting this game for my 11th birthday, along with the 2010 World Cup game on Wii, and it just makes me yearn for the good old days. Playing both of these games is still a magical experience. However, like the first game, the second game is also not perfect. Here are some problems with the game. A. The gravity mechanics, while they have improved in many ways, can still be annoying at times to deal with. B. The part where you have to fly around with motion controls on that bird is kinda bad. C. Again, how can anyone breathe in space? These problems don't ruin the game for me. No film, TV show or game is perfect, and sometimes these aforementioned problems can be nothing more than nitpicks. The game is on the Wii U's eShop, which has been shut down for over 2 years now. And that's it. Yeah, the second game's not as accessible as the first one, unfortunately. It's not on Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which I find a bit baffling. I recommend getting a physical copy of the Wii version, or emulate on PC if you're okay with the FBI breaking into your home. So is Super Mario Galaxy 2 disappointing? Now I could see why people think that way, and sometimes I do feel that when I play it, but I still find it hard to dislike it, or think it was disappointing. So yeah, while I do think it's a little too similar to the first game, I can still say with confidence that Super Mario Galaxy 2 is a nearly perfect game. This blue chimp looks like he's trying to sell me ecstasy and expired ice cream. In my video on the first game, I mentioned how at the end of it that Mario Galaxy came out on the Nvidia Shield in China because the Wii was banned over there, 11 years after the game initially released. So it got me thinking, did Mario Galaxy 2 ever come out in China? Well, no. But it did come out in the neighbouring countries of Taiwan and Hong Kong. So how long did they have to wait for that game to come out? Okay, not as long as I thought.